but I didn't. I didn't believe in abortion. And so, but God had his different plans with that one. It turns out it ended up being ectopic. I had cramping. I went to the hospital. And then I went home thinking it was fine. And then I woke up Christmas Day in 2015, on the floor puking violently and just like dying, basically. Basically, my ectopic pregnancy had ruptured, and we had to call 911, and I had massive blood loss, and it was a close call. Got me to the hospital. They had to do an emergency surgery to remove it, blood transfusion, the whole thing. But I was survived, surviving and thriving over here. But it was at that point they gave me the depot shot, right? And I was just like, and it was just a horrible, traumatizing time. And I remember after that point, I literally lost my mind. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I think the depot shot helped. But I was like, I feel like I just remember being completely like, I've lost my mind. I can't function. I can't do this. So I was back up in the psychiatrist's office, and he prescribed me Wellbutrin. And I've been on it ever since, you guys. And I'm not ashamed to say that, because that got me through that year, and I've leveled out on that, right? And on and off, that was 7 years ago, right? 8 years, 7 years ago. On and off, I've stopped sometimes and I've taken it. And then there's been times I could go on about my life journey, right? But there's been a lot more since then that's happened, and I can only go on so much on this episode. But I mean, I've talked a lot about my separation since then. I tried to make it as less about me as possible, because if I sit in my own, sadness, I just couldn't function for the kids' sake. So I thought, if I need some pills to help me through this, I freaking will take pills, right? And well, Butrin really worked for me, actually. It definitely helped level me out. And between that and just trying to be as healthy as possible with exercise and being around good people and church and things, I don't go to church as much anymore, but and just having a healthy balance of fun and, I've been mentally quite well. I've had phases where it's not been like that, and my ex-husband, his addictions then just really went off the chain. And for years on and off, it was all about how do we get this man sober? Fast forward in 2020, he overdosed in my house. And again, with that, I found this last year, as I talked to you guys in November, that I felt like I had some PTSD processing going on in November, when it was a year after the overdose, and he almost died in my arms, right? And I just, there's been some shit that this man has just brought to my life. I'm not here to bash him, but his demons, if you will, his journey of me loving this, or having this man in my life, has really brought me through some trauma, which I've had to manage in my own way, and I've been trying to protect the kids from it. But I'm a mature enough person, and I had to deal with anxiety as a young kid. So it's like, I felt like I've always been very well equipped to get through it. If I'm depressed, I sometimes I was telling my friend this the other day, sometimes I just know I have to go to sleep, and I just have to sleep it out and wait till, the next day comes around, because I'll be fine the next day. And sometimes I don't snap out of it. Like for example, I mentioned to you on the last episode that I'm dating somebody. Well, I'm no longer dating that guy. Turns out he's one of those people that it falls into that dicks category. And I don't want to go into any details, but I've definitely felt some of that lovesick depression feelings the last few days. I caught myself getting all caught up in the feelings for this guy, a piece of shit guy that I should not be having those feelings for, giving any of that away to. But sometimes it's like, it puts you in a funk. It really does. And sometimes it takes you down. Like yesterday, I actually couldn't, after I did my yard work, I was so tired from the funk I was in and the mental anguish. I had to go to bed and just go to sleep and sleep it off. And I was in a funk all day. I'm probably going to be in a funk for about a couple days on that one till it's out of my system, because that's just what we go through, and it's like, when you've gone through something big and traumatic, like a separation, divorce, or anything really big, believe me, that funk from that shit lasts a long time. It's not easy to get out of that funk, right? And we as adults we know about knowledge. We have counseling we go to. I've been in and out of counselors' offices for years. We have medications we can use. We have friends that we can reach out to. So it's a matter of just figuring out what works for us and just getting on it and doing it, because we have kids to manage, and it's like, we don't get to sit around and like wallow in our sorrow, right? And so that leads me to my next section of this, depression in kids. So there you go. So I've been dealing with depression on and off. I do feel like a lot of it's been through trauma, though, like it's trauma related. And that's okay. That's just something PTSD type, driven depression. And I work through it. But one thing I wasn't prepared for is that trauma related depression in my kiddos. Now, each kid, manages that stress differently. My little son, he gets anxious. My older one, she's just very, she keeps it all in. She blocks things out in the past and she just sort of like deals with it. My middle one is very moody. When we moved out and we moved into this new house, she used to say, I wish I was dead. I wish I was dead. And she was only like 10 or so. And I used to freak out about that. I'm like, if there's anybody going to deal with major depression, it's going to be her, And I got them counseling here and there, but I just never was that focused on that. And then I feel like she got, they all did a really great job of getting better at just being accepting of the situation. Their dad's not in their life. He comes in and out sometimes. But overall, they've done a really good job about managing it through the support of friends and being in a good school and us. And I've never really been too worried about it to the point where I need to put them in counseling. But not that you should have to worry about, not that you should leave counseling just to be when it's a bad thing. I think maintenance wise, it's a good idea for kids to have counseling always. You just got to make the time and find it. It's not easy to coordinate all that, I found. So then 2020 came around, their grandpa died, their dad relapsed. Oh, we lost our cat too. And then it was just the pandemic and all of that shit, right? Well, whose kid wasn't dealing with depression around that time? I mean, I know everybody who has a kid says that their kid was struggling, right? So put all that together. And, I get a call from the school one day saying that the technology they use to monitor emails was you detected a word, I guess she was emailing her friend. She never sent it. She was composing it, but found some words or whatever that show. Anyway, so they read this letter and they said that she says she feels like she wants to hang herself often and that she cuts herself and that she's thinking about killing herself sometimes, right? So this is now she's 14. Actually, in 2 weeks, she'll be 14. But back then she was 12, 13, whatever. It's probably about this time 2 years ago. She was 12. Wait, was it last year? No, it was this time last year, I think. So anyway, yeah. Basically, it freaked me out. I lost it. But, the school counselor was really great about helping me kind of keep calm through it, talk to her about it. Then we got, I took her to a counselor or a psychiatrist. No, I felt like it didn't happen right away. I don't know why. We just started talking through it, working through it, and I felt pretty good about the way we were handling it. And then a few weeks later, I saw her cuts all over her legs again, and turns out she'd continued cutting all over her legs. And so we did take her to a psychiatrist, and they ended up putting her on the same medication I'm on, which has been good. I don't think she cuts anymore, but sometimes you never know, right? But it was just like an eye-opener that sometimes you have no fucking clue what's going through your kids' heads, and it really made me realize, like, wow, life is scary and depression's scary when it's your children. Like, the amount of times I have been afraid to come home and be afraid to walk in her room and see her hanging was just, it's like, those fears are real. Like, when I actually fear that my kid might kill herself, that shit's like no fucking joke. I wasn't prepared for that. Like, no parents are prepared for that. My initial reaction was to just go off and scream, like, how can you do this to me, But it's like, I was advised it's just not the way to handle it. She needs to know that. So on and off since then, it's been a challenge, but she's doing better. I really do think she's doing better, but she's still on the medication. We started counseling stopped. It's been hard to make sure she gets to that counseling all the time. It's like, man, I, once again, don't get a chance to deal with my own depression because I have to deal with my children's depression now. And it's something that I know some of my friends have walked through that too. And it's like, oh my God, I never never in a million years would I have thought to have to deal with this with them. And I can only imagine if there's any parents out there whose kids have killed themselves or have had a child that's killed themselves. Like, I've heard lots of stories of situations that have happened, and it's heartbreaking. And I feel like all we can do is our best, and then just to pray a lot about it, because you never know. Like, the fear lives in me today, even my oldest, because she internalizes so much. I'm like, what, but we can't as a parent live in that fear of like, will my child kill themselves? It's too scary to go there. You just have to pray a lot over them, for them. But it's a real thing in today's world. It's so scary and just like, ugh. But my overall thought is like, if we've got tools, let's use them. If it means medication, so be it. If it means counseling, so be it. Like, there's tools out there, let's use them. We need to be strong for our children. We all have our way of coping with the stress of life, and sometimes those ways are not very good. I feel like I have a good balance of healthy ways of managing it and not so healthy ways. I probably drink too much. I probably go out too much with, date too much, whatever it is that you might classically say, well, that's not the healthiest way to cope with stress. I probably have a list of those, but I also do things well. Like I read a lot, I listen to podcasts, I rest a lot, I exercise quite a lot, not as much now because I hurt my neck, but just overall, I know how to, do things in a healthy way as well. It's just, life's tough, depression is a thing, and it comes from so much around us that are influences. I found that those cool like apps recently have been really helpful. The affirmations and the quotes, inspirational like things that pop up on your phone. The other night I was listening to affirmation. It was almost like meditation. It was just a lot of I am this, I am that. And I thought, how cool is that? Like, I was really quite meditating on how I am the best I can be, and I am all I can be, and I love myself. Just positive self-talk, right? Or as Mary J. Blige says, just wake up every morning and tell yourself, good morning, gorgeous, It's just, it's whatever we got to do to self-preserve, self-love ourselves and stay healthy. We got to do it for our kids' sake, And I feel like even when they get older and they move out and they're adults, that stress still doesn't go away. Everyone tells me that too, but part of me is excited for them to grow up and so I don't have to worry so much. But then I'm like, well, no, that's still just going to be, now they're going to have to deal with depression and relationships and divorces possibly and children, the things that have really like shaped my stress in life. I won't say stress, but any of the traumas that have come for me have come from having to live life with responsibilities. Like when I was young and had a carefree life, I didn't have that. I didn't have trauma and stress. But with relationships, I've had a lot, and this whole dating situation I just kind of come to recently, it's like, it's making me feel very, very depressed about how like I have been single 8 years, and I don't think there's a problem with that. I'm not trying to say it's a problem, but I don't want to be single. I've never wanted to be single. I love so hard on people. Anyone that knows me will tell you I'm the most relational person, most loyal and loving person you'll ever meet. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying this is who I am. I'm meant to be with somebody. I'm meant to have a person that I just love and pour. The person that gets to feel my love is the luckiest person. And there's been people out there that have experienced that, but being an empath and a big lover, it's like I attract those that are like narcissists that take that from me willingly and don't give it back to me, And it's like, why can I not find somebody that is the same as me? That I'm also attracted to, mind you, because like I'm sure there's a lot of people out there like that, but I've just not been attracted to them, or I haven't attracted them. So I don't know what's broken in me, you guys, but that alone is starting to depress me right now. And I know that I don't have a whole lot of time for a relationship. I don't. However, I'm starting to feel very dark and dismal about the whole thing. I want a nice wedding. I want to have like a beautiful honeymoon. I never had a honeymoon. You got to remember, I had like a shotgun wedding, after my horrific situation with my best friend having an